And welcome back to another episode of Psychic Evolution. I'm Jamie Clark.
And I'm Maggie Clark, and this is a podcast where you discover the psychic potential within to empower yourself and manifest your psychic and mediumship gifts. And today we're diving into the ocean of consciousness. We are going to be diving into how we are all connected, how we are all one, what is the collective consciousness and the collective unconsciousness of humanity, and beyond.
Seeing that the ocean is the droplet, and the droplet is the ocean, there is no separation. And what I mean by that is I always share, every time I unify with the oneness, it is like the best mood you've ever been in, the best meal you have ever had. And truly, it is, everything is interconnected. Even though it seems separated in the planets and stars and all that, it is all within the ocean of consciousness. And that connection that Chi was just kind of letting me know to go, okay, in this case, we're going to go for humans, but then you can expand it into worlds, galaxies, universes, all within the bigger ocean of consciousness as we perceive it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And so we just want to give a little bit of information and different perspectives of the ocean of consciousness and why everything is allowed to be good, bad, happy, sad, light, dark, all of that. It's all one.
So if you think about yourself as one of those droplets, a droplet of consciousness, a droplet of your I am frequency, and then think about once that droplet reaches its way into the ocean, you become a part of everything.
You know, so many people think that we are separated in the ocean of consciousness. And I say, really, if you think that you stay your little droplet consistently, then take a whole big container or glass of a bunch of droplets of water, and then just take one drop of iodine and drop it into that water. You'll see it co-create and merge with the other droplets. It is the unification of consciousness. And in this case, that droplet, the color, like our energy and thoughts, will blend into the connection of all of the other droplets and realizing it's all one. It's all, in this case, one glass of water. Yet you've been able to merge that connection, which is just beautiful.
And in that, it unifies consciousness. So when you think about that iodine reaching out to and creating a new color throughout all the consciousness of that glass of water, and say that glass is the ocean of consciousness. And this is what it means. Every thought we have, every conscious expression of our I am frequency affects everything. It affects the whole consciousness of the entire ocean. But we know when we go swimming in the ocean, we see different levels of the ocean depth. We have the higher depths that are closer to the surface. We have the deep, murky, underneath depths that are close in the ground. And there's depths of the oceans that we haven't even explored yet. So when you think about that, where do you vibrate? When you imagine yourself as a droplet jumping into this ocean of consciousness, where do you hang out? What is your vibration? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What are the other iodine expressions that are around you? You know, are you close to the surface where there's a lot of sparkling light? Or do you sometimes have to dive deep into the shadows to discover more about your I am self? Because this whole ocean of consciousness is for you to explore who you are. And again, life only comes down to two things: finding yourself and being yourself. So where do you vibrate in that ocean of consciousness? Take a moment today, in your spare time, and not while you're driving, but take a moment today to imagine yourself diving into that ocean of consciousness and saying, feel and show me my I am presence and where I am vibrating in this ocean. And ask yourself if you want to stay there or if you want to explore different aspects of this ocean of consciousness.
In that dynamic, I always share the fact that, again, each one of us are a droplet in the ocean of consciousness. Because everything is within the entire ocean, it's all allowed to be. And I share the fact, do you really think that the droplets at the bottom that are dark and murky of the ocean are any less than the ones near the top where it's light? Or do we realize potentially it's the law of equivalence? If you're at this level, you will see this and be aware. If you're at this level, the darkness, and you may not see a lot. Yet what we don't understand, we tend to fear. And that darkness, because we may not be able to see information or feel it, a lot of people of trepidation, they just don't want to go down to it, and you don't have to. Because, again, it's only for the moment. Because I'm willing to bet there are a number of those dark droplets at the bottom that might merge into the other droplets, and realizing that they're connected to everything, and it depends on what way they would like to see the ocean of consciousness, from what angle, what perspective. And to me, that's why everything is allowed with the fish and the sharks and all of that, is it's within the ocean of consciousness. And in that, it's more of a natural integration than humans have with other people. So when we're able to see that life is an ocean of consciousness, because to me, I always say playfully, I'm lazy. It takes no more energy for me to send love and light to one droplet or one person than to the all that is, the entire ocean, because it's that kind of a connection that a lot of us, it's not easy if someone's upsetting you or challenging you to go, yeah, send him love and light, yeah, freaking sure. And so for me, I'll equate the fact to go, okay, you don't have to see them as a person. Maybe just put that energy vibe as to a droplet in the ocean at the bottom of the ocean that it's dark, and just send the whole ocean love, some light, whatever you would like to do. And realize that that one intent covers the entire ocean, and possibly beyond that ocean of consciousness, because I believe that, on this planet, there are a few things that are almost 70% water. That'd be the oceans and the human body, and the brain is almost 80%. So again, for me, I'm lazy, so not only do I send it to the ocean and to the people here, but to the all that is. That's the universes and beyond my comprehension. That way, I don't have to understand it. I can just share the love unconditionally, which is kind of what I feel like every time I merge with the oneness, is that love. And just to me, every time I merge with the oneness, there is no judgment ever, completely accepting and loving right where I'm at. As an eternal being, right? All that quantum physics and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. All of this life experience prior to this is completely loved and accepted, allowing us to be who we are in the moment of each lifetime, of each experience, of each interaction with life.
And there are times we take our little droplet and we swim over to a droplet friend and say, hey, how are you doing? And maybe they're going through a challenging time in their life. Maybe they're going through something very emotional, or it's, a harder thing for them to deal with, or they're challenged with this human experience of life, which, includes all of the emotional attitudes that we have, including fear and anger and sadness and whatever you might be experiencing. And then at some point we're like, okay, is this really where my droplet is vibrating, or did I just swim over to connect, to experience this time with this person, to support this person? And then how do I return to my own area of consciousness? Because as empaths, and many, many psychics, many mediums, I think almost every psychic and medium is very empathic, because it's how they feel. And some of us feel more deeply than others. Some of us have a harder time releasing things that we feel of other people's than others. But if we imagine that we just took our droplet to a different area of the ocean, and we can take our droplet back to our area when we're done, maybe that will help you release some of the things in the ocean of consciousness that you no longer wish to connect with after being supportive and being a good friend, or whatever it is that you're choosing to do. Then you can go, okay, now I'm ready to go back to my level of consciousness or my ocean area and just kind of vibe a different frequency. That sometimes can really help with our empathic abilities. And when we feel overwhelmed empathically, like we're taking on too much, or we're feeling too much of other people's areas of ocean of consciousness, right? Because, hey, it's all one. We're all equal, but we can actually change our vibration in that ocean and elevate it, and maybe say, okay, I want to go to a different place to play right now. So think about that going forward, because there are times in life that are so challenging, yet we can always shift our vibration and shift our level of awareness of where we want to play in that ocean of consciousness.
And basically, as I always talk about Dr. Masaru Emoto and thought affecting the molecular structure of water, and if you'll do your homework, you see the pictures in that. But in addition, the average person doesn't realize that there are a lot of times where their thought patterns will give the power and empowerment to the droplets in the ocean of consciousness. And in this way, I kind of equate it like people who will take a shower and they're like, I tend to get a lot of great ideas when I take the shower. It's like, really? Well, aren't you now saying it before it happens? Doesn't that mean you're psychic? Or could we realize that it's the intent of what you expect to happen, in this case with the droplets of water through the sprayer, and that you allow that interaction to go, almost every time I take a shower, it tends to give me insights and information. All you had to do was create your own self-fulfilling prophecy. When I have those droplets hit my big head, I get a lot of ideas. Perfect. And in training how that feels, so that you're in the shower and you get those ideas, but if you entrain how it feels, you could be anywhere and still have that connection. What if you could be at work going, hey, I'm gonna put that stuff to the test, because as I always say, please question everything. Put it to the test, you get a result. Okay, now it's firsthand experience, not secondhand. I always say firsthand, amazingly powerful. You have no choice but to go, I don't understand it, I just experienced it. And the second nature is what a lot of people perceive, but it's really our connection to the ocean of consciousness. That one thought can permeate the entire ocean of consciousness with love, with empowerment. How about with great ideas to unify the planet? What about many other aspects? Because I don't say a lot about all the stuff that I do, but I'll share it with you in a way to go, hey, please put it to the test. You get a result? Maybe you'll work from that parameter. And again, it's the ability to question everything, but get those solid validations of information as we perceive it. Because in this connection, when you can realize that as we equate the ocean of consciousness, that this entire universe is consciousness. It is a constant within that. Remember that old thing about Chi sharing with me that there could be a few other constants besides change, which is of course a constant, but it becomes the flexibility of the ocean to encompass our thoughts. No matter where you go, there you are. You were connected to everything. Even if it's seemingly across the world and other things, it is all truly interconnected. And when you can unify that in your own way, whatever feels comfortable, it becomes a little bit easier to allow other droplets to be who they are. And if you like that energy, you'll hang with them. If not, you'll start to distance. But it becomes those laws of equivalence, no more, no less than that with which you comprehend me to be. That's why the darkness is allowed at the bottom, and they are no less than the droplets at the top of the ocean. Or do we realize it's a possibly different perspective of seeing things and experiencing them? And when we can shine our own light in any way, because we are vibrational light beings, that might shed more light, more information to other experiences, people, and dynamics. And what if the way that you think about things, you can literally co-create with other people, not manipulate, but those types of dynamics is everything is interconnected. And that time, there is no time. Truly, there is no limit. That's a human concept. What if it's time right here, right now, to realize your connection to the ocean of consciousness? And that those thoughts can affect the molecular structure of water. And not only that, what if we are a blending of the spiritual essence of the ocean and the water within our body that is always sending and receiving mental impulses of energy? And then it can permeate in your own way, because I'll see myself as the ocean of consciousness and far beyond that, in a way that it's love, that it's complete acceptance, and everything is allowed to be, for it is within the ocean of consciousness. And in that, there is no good or bad. It is all but an experience to the ocean. That is a huge dynamic that when we can realize we're all interconnected, that even though, of course, it seems like we're separate people and planets and universes and all that kind of good stuff, it's truly all one. And when you can ignite that energy, because it's whatever you are comfortable with. If you only want to send it to a glass or just to a person, then of course do that. But also it's the aspect of growth and expansion of thought. And as Chi shares with me, that it starts with, the person, and then the ocean, and then the planet, and then the galaxy, and then the universe is, because it is all within the entire ocean. It is amazing. And I do know that the more I know, I don't know nothing, man, but we'll share our perspectives. And if we can help you possibly to become aware of maybe a little bit different way of seeing things, if that's good for you, that might give you more of a perspective to put this to the test and get those end results. Because once you have that end result and you realize, okay, this is how I approached it, this is the reaction I got, now you have a reference of creating and co-creating with others and life.
And of course, within the ocean of consciousness, we have the tides, we have the ebbs and the flows, the expansions and the contractions. We have a universal movement that is co-creating, as well as a collective consciousness in humanity. And it's not just humanity. We're dealing with other species on this planet, whether they are extraterrestrial, whether they are animals, whether they're the plant kingdom and the mineral kingdom. Remember, we're all one. It's all connected. It's all within. And every single collective consciousness builds a vibrational field. So when we think about the culture that we are born into, or maybe the country we're born into, or the religion we're born into, or your family that you're born into, you think of that as a collective consciousness. Whether it's a family, it brings its own collective, the ancestral collective, whether it is in a certain time period that has its own collective consciousness, if it's humanity itself, its own collective consciousness. So even within the ocean of consciousness, there are pools of droplets that create a collective consciousness that we play in. And it doesn't mean we can't explore the other aspects of the ocean of consciousness, because there are times we have past life memories. There are times we have future life memories. There's times we have memories of being on other planets and being other races. And so when we think about that, we remember that, oh, okay, I'm operating from a collective consciousness because I was born human, and I was born into this time frame where these are the rules that were set in place as I came in. But those rules, think of it in the ocean as like a little nook in the ocean, or a little cove where the pirate ship was parked, some little area where you're like, okay, this is going to be my reality until I'm ready to explore the other parts of the ocean of consciousness. Some of those droplets stay in the pirate cove forever. Some of those droplets are going to be like, you know what? I need to explore the outer reaches of the sea. Some of them are going to be like, what is on the bottom? Where can I go? It's good to have an awareness that this collective consciousness is part of the tides that you are born with, right? The ebbs and the flows, the contractions and the expansions. And once you become aware of what that feels like, what that level of consciousness feels like, then you can allow your awareness, your consciousness to tap in. If you wanted to, say, tap into the collective consciousness of all of humanity, this is how dream interpretation is done. This is how we perceive animal medicine, because in every culture, a snake's always meant wisdom and transformation. So what makes it any different now? Because all of humanity has agreed that this is what the snake has shown us. This is what it represents. It will shed its skin and transform. That gets built into the ocean of consciousness, into the collective consciousness, where we always can be like, oh, I know what a snake means somewhere inside of me. I absolutely know that it means wisdom and transformation. And you might have been born into a religion that says it's evil and bad, and that's part of your collective. Not all of the humanity, because all of humanity didn't always see that way. But they always saw it as shedding skin and transforming into something new. And the wisdom of changing and transforming and growing into your potential has always been the wisdom of the snake. So that's just one example of how that collective consciousness can be within us all, and how we can have the awareness of wisdom, of understanding. Because if it's been done before, or been done in the future, it's all been done in the now, in that ocean of consciousness. So where are we playing?
what if in a natural state, in this case the oceans and the water, the droplets of water, are also symbolic of reincarnation? Because as the water droplets from the ocean are moving up into the clouds, those clouds may move beyond the ocean onto land or other areas. And no matter where you put that droplet, it already has the full potential of the entire ocean within it. We are never individual of, we only individualized of that experience. And when we realize that no matter where we go, there we are, it's all one, it becomes a little bit easier to maybe not fight the changes so much. And out of all of those droplets that come into the clouds, right, not all of them drop at once. What if there's an awareness to moving along life's path as we perceive it and dropping in where it's comfortable and appropriate for you? Because it's those types of energies that we just want to give you different perspectives and maybe a way of seeing things that can become more empowering, not disempowering. Because when you're in that ocean, sometimes it can be a little scary. But if you can realize it's all one, it's even more powerful. Now, I just really want to share basically that I believe there has been some testings done, and in one particular hurricane, it was moving towards land, and people started sending the hurricane energy to redirect and go in another location. And apparently it did. Now, that's pretty powerful because they were able to redirect the flow of water, in this case of the rain and the storm that was happening. However, a lot of them just shifted it to move away from where they were, but they didn't necessarily realize that where that hurricane went was some smaller islands that kind of got challenged with all that energy. So it's not that you always have to be aware, but if you're going to do this, realize the potential of reactions to that experience. That if you're going to send that energy, maybe just send it out to the ocean itself and let it just merge back into the oneness. Or whatever you would like, but giving it the connection of co-creation. And when we can realize that the molecular structure does respond to our thoughts, in this case of water, even though it's in some ways, the clouds, right? It's in the evaporated aspect, yet it is still receiving mental thought patterns of connection and direction.
And sending intentional energy is you're working within this ocean of consciousness directly, because it's not just about you anymore. It's about every other droplet that's around you. And so one of the reasons I always say in love for the best of all concerned, I send my energy in love for the best of all concerned, is because I don't know what's best for that whole ocean. If I knew that, I would be God. Oh, wait, the droplet is the ocean and the ocean is a droplet. So that means, oh, okay, yes, we are all divine. And when we realize that love is part of that fabric, it might even be the water in the ocean. We don't, like, what is love? So when we're sending energy, when we send it in love for the best of all concerned, then we know that we're not here to harm other people. When they're directing hurricanes with their conscious thought patterns, some places are ready and they're prepared and they have evacuated and they've planned. But when you redirect that and it hits other places it wasn't expecting to go, it is more catastrophic because they're not expecting it to come that way. So whenever we focus our energy and direct intentional magic or intentional consciousness, then you are literally going to be working within the ocean. So having the parameters, the rules and regulations in place of how you're going to send your energy, making sure you're coming from love, making sure that your intention is to harm none, whatever your language is around it. But it is about playing within that ocean, because once you start sending and directing your own energy for intentional purposes, then all of a sudden you're expanding your droplet into many other arenas in that ocean of consciousness. So you open yourself up when you're doing that to different levels of consciousness. And then you're also part of that, whatever it happens. And I'm a big fan of sending energy. Trust me, I send energy for healing. I send energy for safety. I send energy for support and for compassion into the world. So all of these things, I'm sending energy all the time in the field that I work work with. Just because I know that affects the whole doesn't mean I'm going to refrain from using my energy and my intentional power in this world. I'm actually just going to use it with more consciousness of how it's connected to the whole. Because if all of these droplets in the ocean were vibrating positive thoughts and love, what world would we live in? Where in this ocean of consciousness? I mean, would it look like Atlantis rising from the ocean? Like, what would it be? Think about that. And don't hesitate of helping humanity and sending and focusing energy. Just make sure you are aware that it has an effect on the whole. And that means you will be affected as well through those ripples and through how it affects that little area that you're playing in the ocean.
And it's interesting, but that one action, in this case, the people sending that hurricane, the mental thought patterns of redirecting, that very positive action and reaction to their thoughts also may have become the challenge to the other islands, that they didn't expect that to happen. And my thing is, well, don't you find that interesting? If a group can send it, couldn't other lands, in this case islands, send that energy the same kind of direction to go out back into the ocean? Or do we realize that, again, if you're not paying attention to things, you're not necessarily mentally thinking and feeding it? So in this case, that one action of safety and harmony, that whoever was redirecting the hurricane coming at you going, oh, crap, I didn't expect that. Well, then let's be proactive. For me, I always see myself as safe, harmonized, and integrated. That way I don't have to worry about, I'm like, yeah, frick that. I'm going to make sure I'm safe. Because in doing that, also, the mental thoughts affecting the molecular structure of water, I always share the fact that if you're doing psychic or mediumship, you are picking up on other people's thought patterns of consciousness. If you don't have whatever parameters, safety mechanisms, any of those that keep you safe, then you'll start to let that thought pattern of whoever the people are that you're bringing through to affect the molecular structure of your body. And that's why potentially some people as an empath will start to pick up information going, I'm getting all tired and worn out. And what if they're just absorbing other people's thought patterns and not even realizing that they're doing it? So to me, knowledge is power. And it's in that connection to go, well, if we can have one group redirect a storm of a hurricane into another direction, what about co-creating with other people with positive, loving, happy thoughts to get that connection, so that you just have to allow everything to be?
And what I see in my head when you're talking about that, Jamie, is if you had two boats that were creating like wakes, and then those wakes were going in, like coming out and then colliding, that's what it makes the vision I have in my head of like someone trying to redirect a hurricane and another person, and like, okay, one wake might be a little bit bigger, meaning it has more energy or more fuel or a bigger splash, so to speak, and it might overtake the other one. But again, if they were both sent in love for the best of all concerned, they might just merge and create a new flow. And so remember that sometimes that merging of consciousness between two people's intentions is what co-creates those realities. How do they meet? Is one more powerful than the other? Is one have more droplets, more conscious thought patterns invoked with it that might overtake the other? But if they are intentional for in love for the best of all concerned, then they come together, and whatever is the most loving will phase out, where it will go where it is supposed to go. And we do believe that, I believe that everything happens for a reason, and we are always co-creating realities. And so what splashes are you making in that ocean of consciousness? What riptides are you flowing with? What currents are you riding? Where are you vibrating? And feel through that and allow yourself to just feel your I am presence within that ocean, because when you return to that, you are returning to the self, you are returning to love, and you are returning to the all that is, was, and will be.
What if we're able to just symbolically equate that our thoughts are like the boats, that those thoughts are creating a direction, a vehicle of consciousness? The reaction is the wake that you leave. What if, exactly like Mag is saying, you can go in a co-creative aspect in this case, and blend those reactions of experience to unify more harmonized, that it doesn't have to overtake one, but can blend into one connection.
So have fun this week exploring where you vibrate in the ocean of consciousness. How do you feel? Explore this and really get in touch, and remember, you are the droplet and the droplet is the ocean, and we are one.